Okay guys, good morning to one and all. So now we are in second unit. The unit name is called transmission system. So last class yesterday we were spoken about what is the transmission, how transmission work, some of the components of transmission we were discussed. So in that transmission system, the clutch is the one important component. So we have seen video also, animation video, how clutch is working. So how the clutch is engaging and disengaging. So when the clutch is engaging, what is the principle of in IC engines? In the clutch is disengaging, what is the principle of in IC engines? Those we were seen. And coming to that, some of the disengaged options also we seen, disengaged working principles also. So when it should be disengaged, whenever it is at the starting of the engine, shifting of the gears, stopping of the vehicle, idling of the engine. These are the main primary positions when clutch is disengaged. And when clutch is engaged also we seen, when clutch is engaged, so there is a power transmission from engine to rear wheels. That is what we seen in the last class also. And some of the main parts also we seen, driving member, driven member and operating member. So now I'll show you this driving, driven and operating members also. So before that, you just remember that driving member is nothing but which is connected to the flywheel, or which is connected to the IC engine shaft. Then driven member is nothing but which is connected to the plates and freely to rotate. That means that from engine to the energy is coming and coming out through the driven member. And operating members, these members are working between the driving and driven members. These operating members are working between the driving and driven members. So you just keep in mind, while diagram will come, I'll show you. So next slides, the diagram will be there. I'll go through the diagram so that you can understand clearly about this. Next, to come to the types of clutch. It is very important. There are few types of clutches are there in automobile engineering, because clutch is on every automobile engineer, but depend on situation, depend on working and depend on amount of torque is required. So based on that, the clutches are verifying, the clutches are differentiating here, the clutches are changing on automobile vehicles. So likewise, we have a one friction clutches. Under the friction clutches, we have three. One is single plate clutch. Second one is multi plate clutch. Third one is cone clutch. Of course, about single plate clutch, about multi plate clutch, about cone clutch, you were studied about this, where in the dynamic of machinery, in the friction and dynamic of machinery subjects also you were studied about single plate clutch, about multi plate clutch, about cone clutch, and you were solved problems also on these concepts. I hope you have solved problems also. So no need not to go for in depth of it. Anyway, I'll take you that how single plate clutch is working, how multi plate clutch is working, how cone clutch is working also. I'll take you that, because these are very important here. And coming to second type of clutch is centrifugal clutch, right? Centrifugal clutch. So the clutch which is working on the centrifugal basis. We know the two kinds of forces, centrifugal force and centripetal force. But here centrifugal force clutch is working here, and electromagnetic clutch. So electromagnetic clutches are nothing but these clutches are for heavy duty vehicles like trains, automotive vehicles like ships, and other heavy duty vehicles. The kind of electromagnetic clutches are using. So come to frictional clutches. These clutches are mechanical clutches. Centrifugal clutches are nothing but these clutches are hydraulic clutches. And coming to the third one, this is not fourth one, third one is electromagnetic clutches. This is nothing but electrical clutches. So clutches have been modified into mechanical clutches. These are the mechanical clutches, hydraulic clutch, centrifugal clutch, and electrical clutch is nothing but electromagnetic clutch. So first we'll go to that single plate clutch, about mechanical clutch, single plate clutch. So before this is the single plate clutch, just information about single plate clutch. So what single plate clutch will tell us? I'll take you that to single plate clutch working principle, construction and working principle. A single plate clutch or disc clutch as shown in figure, I'll show you the figure also, consists of a clutch, plate hold both sides of the face with frictional materials. So a material is there, a, what you call that, plate is there. On the plate on both sides the friction materials are there. On both sides of the plate the friction materials are there. So one plate, one rubber material, one plate, one rubber material. We cannot go for taking of two plates at contacting to each other, because if we go for like that we cannot work out a frictional force there. So that is why one metal, one non-metal, one metal is a plate and non-metal is nothing but rubber is placing on both sides of the plate, so that there we can work out the frictional forces and we can get them back into retardation position. So that is why it is most important, one metal and one non-metal materials. It is mounted on the hub. The plate is mounted on the hub, which is free to move axially along the spline of the driving shaft. So I'll take you that through diagram so that you can understand this. After that, I'll explain you this. Come to this. This is the what you call that single plate clutch, because the name is indicating that the plate which we are using here is single plate. The plate which we are using is a single plate. Single plate, you can see that the plate which we are using is single plate. This is called as a single plate, right? The plate, single plate. On the single plate there are two rubbers. This is the one rubber and this is the one rubber non-metallic. This is metallic and this is the non-metallic rubbers, you can see it. So the plate is directly mounted on the hub, which is coming from force from engine, energy from engine, right? It is directly connected to the where? It is directly connected to the flywheel shaft, right? So this is the shaft for clutch. This is shaft for clutch. This is supporting shaft for clutch. The supporting shaft is directly mounted on the engine flywheel. Engine flywheel. So we cannot get a, we cannot see here a flywheel, but it is connected to the flywheel and that directly, right? You can see here flywheel. Sorry, there is a flywheel directly connected to the flywheel, engine to flywheel. So on the flywheel shaft, the clutch hub is mounted here, mounted here. So whenever the flywheel is taking number of revolutions, with that the hub also will take a number of revolutions, so that the clutch plates also will be work out here. So while the engine energy is passing through this along the axial direction, there is a engaged position. You can see this is the engaged position, right? Engaged position where the clutch plate is engaging with the flywheels, contacting with the flywheel, then the energy can be transmitted from engine to rear wheels. That is what we studied. So here the concept is how the clutch plate is disengaging. That is what we have to see the working principle. Engaging and disengaging, engaging and disengaging. How these two are operating here. That is what the working principle we have to take here, right? So hub is mounted directly to the flywheel, directly connected to the flywheel. On the hub there is a plate. So the plate is connected with the springs. The plate is connected with the springs on both ends. You can see that this is the knife edge spring. This is the springs are connected. And at the end of the hub, there is a one lever, the pedal lever. So simple working principle, I'll tell you that. So whenever the driver is applying force through this pedal, the driver pedal energy will pass along these movements and along these movements and along these movements. So there is a pivot. The pivot will try to press this end of the end of the drum, this end of the drum, or we can say that this is a fulcrum. I last class I shown you that through the diagram also, fulcrum. So the pivot is pressing the fulcrum against the flywheel, against the flywheel. So whenever the force is pressing, the force act on the plate, the force is act on the fulcrum drum or fulcrum plate, so that the plate, the fulcrum plate, the clutch plate would be acting like this. Because as we know that whenever there is a what support is there, at two ends support is there, this is the end support and this is the end support, so this is the total lever, so I can say that this is a simply supported. So whenever the force is taking on that lever, whenever the force is taking on this lever, so immediately what will happen, it is try to get the like this bending. So the bending would be taken place on the lever, on the drum, single plate clutch drum, on the single plate clutch drum at that time. So there is no contacting with the flywheels. There is no contacting with the flywheels because it is away from the flywheel. This side also away from the flywheels. So there is no contacting with the flywheels. That time the power cannot be transmitted through flywheels to rear axles, through the flywheels to rear axles. Whenever the plate is released, whenever the plate is released, the plate is released, the energy will come to this, releasing energy come to this, and there is no force on the pivot, and there is no force on the pivot, and there are the springs. The springs will allow to get the original position of this plate, original position of this clutch plate. So that is what the working principle is taking place here. When the pedal force is applying, when the pedal force is applying, so there is a force on the plate clutch, so it will get that bending. So the bending is indicating away from the flywheel, the bending will say that away from the flywheel. So during that the energy cannot be transmitted. When the clutch, when the pedal force is released, there are the springs, the springs will allow to get the original position of this plate clutch, original position of this plate clutch, so that again it will get a contact with the flywheel, so that the power can be transmitted. So this concept, this working principle, I would like to take through video. Then I will take you that video. Just observe this video. Right? Just watch the video. I think it is sharing to all. Right. Just watch this video carefully. So how this taking place here. See, this is driving member. As I said, there are three components are there: driving member, driven member, and operating member. So this is the driving member, this is the driven member, this is operating member. Three individual components are getting together as a single plate clutch. See this. Right. As I said till now, there is a plate. The plate is located here. The plate is located here, and on both sides of the plates there are the rubbers are there. This is the rubber, and this is the rubber material. This is the plate material. So you can see this total. It is connected on the hub. This is the hub which is directly connected to the flywheel. This is the flywheel. This one is the flywheel. This one is the hub, which is directly connected to the clutch plate. So this is the shaft which is connected to the engine shaft, right? This is engine shaft. So this is clutch pedal. There are the springs are there, lever, and this is the lever, pivot lever. Pivot lever is there. So just observe this, how the working principle is taking here. Single plate frictional clutch. This is, these are the parts, all individual parts are there. So you can study all the individual parts. There is a flywheel, there is a torque spring, then there is a crankshaft, splines, spring, pressure springs, pressure levers, right? fork value, all individual components list also provided there. See carefully. When the pressure is providing by the feet, this is the disengaged position. You can see that disengage when the pedal force is acting through the foot. So the pedal force will pass, and it will come to that pivot, and pivot will try to get through this link away from the flywheel. Right? It is a bending, so somewhat bending. You can see this by this bending. By this bending, there is some gap between the flywheel and this drum. Right? You can see that this is a bending, small bending. Little amount of bending would be taken place on this. See there. Again, pedal is released, pedal is pressed, disengaged and engaged. Now it is engaged position. Now it is disengaged position. It is a disengaged position. You can observe this plate here also. When engaged position, it will rotating. When disengaged position, it is not rotating. See, now it is not rotating. Only engine shaft is rotating. See there. When pedal is pressed, it is not rotating. Means that the power is not transmitting. When they engaged, the power being transmitted. This is what about this. Once again, I'll play you. Just observe this. Driving member, driven member, and operating members are connected to each other. It is called as a single plate frictional clutch. So in this, the parts are located over there. So once parts is connected to each other, then we come to the working principle. It is pressed, pedal force is done on the pedal, so it is disengaged and it is engaged again, power being transmitted. So during disengaged position, the power cannot be transmitted. That you have to remember. During engaging position, the power can be transmitted. So the springs are there. Springs are to get original position of that plate, because energy can be released. Pedal, this pivoted energy can be released by using pressures. That is a pressure spring. Right. So this is what about this. So same working principle, all same this diagram I explained through video also. Now come to this about this. So the pressure plate is mounted inside of the clutch body, which is bolted to the flywheel. Pressure plate, that means that inside of the body, inside of the pressure plate, right? So both pressure plates and flywheels rotated with the engine crankshaft or driving shaft. So whenever engine is rotating, the pressure plate and flywheel is rotating. So whenever the pressure plate and flywheels are rotating, the energy can be transmitted, that indicating that it is a engaged position, contact position. The pressure plate pushes the clutch plate towards the flywheel by set of strong springs, which are arranged radially inside of the body. The springs are there. Springs we have seen in the last class. Set of springs, 3-4 springs are there. So those 3 springs are helping to the set up the strong body. Next, 3 levers are carried to pivot the suspend from the case of the body. This arrangement in such a manner that the pressure plates move away from the flywheel by inward movement of the thrust bearing. So arranging away from the flywheel, from the on the flywheel. So these two are concepts here. That means that engaging position and disengaging position. Right. Come to this. When the clutch pedal is pressed down, clutch pedal force is done on the pedal by driver. Its linkage forces thrust releases bearings to move in the towards flywheel and pressing the longer ends of the lever inward. So end of the plate is pressing against the clutch. End of the lever or end of the plate is pressing against the against the flywheel. So that is what here. The levers are forced to turn their suspended pivoted to the pressure plates, move away from the flywheel by knife edge. I mean that one edge is there. No, this is called a knife edge. This knife edge is nothing but pivoted knife edge, right? Pivoted knife edge. So this action removes the pressure from the clutch plate and thus moves the back from the flywheel and it drives the shaft to become stationary. Right. On other hand, when the foot is taken off from the clutch pedal, from the clutch pedal, the thrust bearing moves back by the its lever. That means that the plate will get a original position after removing the force from the foot, taken out the force from the foot. This allows the springs to extend by means of that springs are there, springs is release the energy so that the plate will get a original position. That means that original position is nothing but again it will contact to the flywheel, contact to the flywheel. So this is what the single plate clutch. The multi-plate clutch is nothing but number of plates are taking, number of plates are increasing on both sides, number of plates are increasing. So the multi-plate clutch working principle I'll take you to the next class, right? Next class I'll continue with the multi-plate clutch. So before that, just one small difference here: single plate clutch and multi-plate clutch. By name indicating, you can identify the differences on that. Consist of single plate because it is a single plate. The name indicating it is a single plate. It is a multi-plate. Consist of multi-plates. Torque transmitting capacity is less because there is a single plate. That is why the torque transmitting capacity is less. There are multi plates, number of plates have been increased. That is why the torque transmitting capacity is more here. So high heat generation is less because only one plate is there. So generation of heat is less. Here there are number of plates are there. Plates are increasing number of plates. So that is why heat generation is more. Coefficient of friction is high. Only one is there. Coefficient of friction is high because the friction generation is less, but here generation is more. The kind of friction material is low. Friction material is low kind of friction material. So this is what some differences about single plate clutch and multi plate clutch. So nothing, multi plate clutch is nothing but the plates have been increased more than two. So after that the principle is same. After that the principle is same. There is also pedal. The pedal force is acting on this plate so that the plates are getting bending. Bending is nothing but it is away from the flywheel. Then after that when pedal force is released it gets that original position. So like that the working principle also carrying on multi-plate clutch. This is what a single plate clutch and a multi-plate clutch. So next class I'll continue other clutches, other type of clutches, other kind of clutches. Okay. So I have some work in the college, so I have to go to for that work. Okay, guys. Okay. Have a nice day. Thank you for joining with me.
Thank you.